6 p.m. on a Sunday here in Korea. This is Daniel Che for Arirang News. We begin with the earthquake that's shattered Nepal, where at least 1,900 people are believed to be dead and nearly 5,000 injured, though those numbers are expected to rise. But just as relief efforts got underway, the country was hit by a powerful aftershock that's triggered avalanches and increased the destruction. With the latest, here's our Shin Se-min.
A powerful earthquake aftershock shook Nepal less than a day after it was hit by its worst quake in more than 80 years. The 6.7 magnitude aftershock struck on Sunday following the 7.8 magnitude quake that hit on Saturday. The quake struck central Nepal less than 80 kilometers northwest of the capital Kathmandu just before noon on Saturday. The tremors also reached India, killing at least 51. Tibet, and Bangladesh. The quake also triggered an avalanche on Mount Everest, where the climbing season had just kicked off, leaving at least 17 hikers dead. The destruction in Nepal is immense, and the desperate search for survivors is ongoing. Sections of the capital Kathmandu have been flattened. Historic temples and landmarks have been destroyed, and hospitals are overwhelmed. Rescuers are having to dig for survivors buried under the rubble as families search for loved ones. Scores of people had to camp outside on Saturday night, either because they had no place to sleep or because they were afraid that aftershocks would destroy their homes. World leaders and international charities have begun offering aid to Nepal. Korea's foreign ministry said Sunday that it is sending $1 million in humanitarian aid. The Korean Red Cross said it will send $100,000 in relief funds. It is also sending emergency kits and preparing to dispatch a number of emergency medical workers to the site. The U.S. government is sending $1 million in humanitarian aid along with search and rescue teams. China's state-run Xinhua news agency said a Chinese rescue team is scheduled to arrive on Sunday. The European Union said it is preparing to send financial support, with individual EU countries also planning to send aid. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Let's hope there will be more global efforts to help out with the disaster in Nepal. And of course, we'll have more updates in our other newscast. Move on to other stories now. President Park Geun-hye wrapped up her 11-day four-nation trip to South America on Saturday. Before her departure, she met with members of the Korean community in Brazil and attended a fashion show in Sao Paulo. Here's our Kwon So-ah with the details.
On the last day of her South America trip, President Park Geun-hye met with around 200 Korean immigrants in Sao Paulo, an economic hub in Brazil, the seventh largest economy in the world. More than 50,000 Koreans call the city home, making it the largest Korean community in Brazil.
브라질에서 가장 성공적인 커뮤니티로 평가를 받으면서 최근에는 차세대 동포들이 경제계, 법조계, 의료계 등 주류 사회로 활발하게 진출하고 있다고 들었습니다.
President Park briefed the community on the outcome of her summit with her counterpart Dilma Rousseff the day before. She told them dozens of MOUs have been signed, and she encouraged them to take advantage of the potential opportunities.
동포 사회는 고국의 글로벌 전진 기지가 되어야 하고, 고국은 동포 사회의 발전을 든든하게 뒷받침하는 상생의 파트너가 되어야 한다고 생각합니다.
President Park also had a very meaningful encounter with a woman in her 70s who had met the president and her father, the late President Park Chung-hee, 40 years ago in Seoul. At the time, President Park was serving as acting First Lady following her mother's assassination. The last event President Park attended before her departure for Korea was a fashion show infused with K-pop, underscoring the significance of the fashion industry in Sao Paulo, where 7 out of 10 Korean residents work in the business. The performances by K-pop stars drew local fan club representatives to the scene too, enhancing President Park Geun-hye's efforts to engage in cultural diplomacy on her tour. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Moving up north, North Korea wants to be partners with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN. A Malaysian Foreign Ministry official said Saturday that Pyongyang, along with Norway, Ecuador, and Mongolia, has formally requested a partnership with a 10-member group ahead of the 26th ASEAN summit that kicks off in Malaysia on Monday. The official said the group needs to decide on whether the countries are suitable for a partnership and into which category they could be included, as the organization has differences in ways of categorizing its partners. ASEAN holds a so-called dialogue partnership with South Korea, the U.S., Japan, and China, some of the group's biggest economic partners. Staying on the regime, North Korea may have more uranium enrichment facilities than was previously known. During an interview with Voice of America on Sunday, the former special advisor for nonproliferation and arms control at the U.S. State Department, Robert Einhorn, said the regime may have other facilities aside from Yongbyon that are operating in secret, although he did not elaborate on how many there are or for how long they have been in operation. Victor Cha, the Korea chair at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, had previously said that if such facilities exist, North Korea could boost its nuclear stockpile to around 40 nuclear warheads by the end of this year. And on Thursday, nuclear experts in China warned that Pyongyang may already have as many as 20 nuclear warheads. Moving on to other parts of our world, rather in Korea, that is, the Korean government is expected to lower its growth outlook and other economic indicators in the second half of the year, citing predictions by market analysts. That is, Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency reported Sunday that with the current economy growing at a slower pace, it will be difficult for the government to maintain its current projections on inflation, employment, imports, and exports. The report says that with exports on the decline, the government should shift gears and boost domestic spending instead of relying on exports for growth. Earlier this month, the Bank of Korea cut its growth outlook for Korea to 3.1% and its inflation forecast to less than 1% from the 1.9% tallied in January. And for the first time, Samsung Electronics has risen to the top of the global Ultra HD display panel market. According to market tracker Display Search, Samsung supplied 28.8% of all UHD panels sold globally in the first quarter. That's up 8.9 percentage points from 19.9% in the fourth quarter of 2014. The Korean tech giant's rise to the top was anything but meteoric, as Samsung Electronics has always been a top player in the market. Its next goal is to tap deeper into the Southeast Asian TV market, including Australia and New Zealand, with its latest SUHD TV line. A growing number of South Koreans are doing more of their shopping directly on foreign websites. Our Won Ji-hyun points out who's shelling out the most online and what they are buying from overseas.
Koreans are no strangers to online shopping, especially when it comes to a deal. And now, more shoppers are using foreign websites to save money on overseas products. According to the Korea Customs Service, more than 1 million Koreans have a customs ID, which is required for making out-of-country purchases. That means about 2 out of 100 Koreans are doing their shopping on overseas websites. The data showed that women account for nearly 60% of all registered shoppers, and the majority are in their 30s. It comes as no surprise, as a lot of young mothers have been using the system to get exclusive deals on baby products that are too expensive or hard to find locally. But the most popular items turned out to be health products like vitamins, followed by food, clothing, and cosmetics. The data also showed that most people spend around $100 to $300 per transaction. The agency explains that overseas direct purchases became more popular since last June, when the government simplified its customs process, which also made delivery time much faster. It added that registrations for customs ID surged during big holiday sales like Black Friday. By country, the most popular websites for Korean shoppers were based in the United States, followed by Germany and China. Won Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Korea's international air passenger traffic surged to a new high in the first quarter of this year due to a jump in the number of foreign visitors. On Sunday, the Transport Ministry reported that the number of air passengers to and from Korea was approximately 15.55 million in the January to March period. That's up 17.3% from the same period last year. The country's overall air passenger traffic spiked 16.6% to about 21.69 million, as the number of domestic air passengers also jumped 14.7% from the year before to roughly 6.14 million. The ministry says the driving factor in the spike in air passenger traffic is a drop in global oil prices, which help lower air travel expenses. Single-person households could be the norm in Seoul in the year 2030. A new report on family structures by the Seoul Metropolitan Government released on Sunday shows that a family comprised of two parents and their unwed children living under one roof taking the lion's share of the pie at 33.6%, and trailing close behind are one-person households at 27%, couples at 13.5%, and single parents at 10.5%. One noteworthy change is the drop in the traditional household unit, which stood over 49% in the year 2000. That number is expected to decline dramatically to slightly over 25% in 2030. In contrast, the number of single-person households rose rapidly by 27% this year from 16% in the year 2000. And in the year 2030, the group is set to take the top spot at over 30%. And now the weather, it feels like we're moving straight into summer with just a brief layover in spring. On Monday, the mercury will rise to its highest for this year at 25. Temperatures in Gwangju and Jeonju will also be high at 28, and Daegu will hit 31. And it's going to get hotter as the week progresses, so brace yourself for that. And now let's check out the weather conditions outside of Korea, around the world. And that's all from us for now. More coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time. Thank you for watching.